Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
The spotlight this year may be on the West Bengal Assembly elections, but the big political story of recent times is going to come out of the Assam polls that are also due this year. Essentially, the West Bengal elections might be a defining moment either way, whether the BJP wins or Mamata Banerjee wins. But what a win by the BJP in the Assam elections, in fact, another convincing win by the BJP in the Assam elections will tell us is that Narendra Modi and Amit Shah know not just how to capture a new territory electorally, but also politically and at the socio-cultural level. I'll tell you why I say this, but before that, let's talk a little bit about how the BJP has established itself and risen in Assam. Assam has not been a traditional BJP fold, it's not organic to the BJP, and it took a lot of painstaking effort by the party as well as by its ideological parent, the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, to spread its message across the state. It was done at the cadre level by building a cadre and also by acquiring leaders from other parties. What the RSS and the BJP to top that very successfully did in Assam was make this entire ethnic, non-ethnic, Assamese versus outsider binary dichotomy debate into this very fuzzy area where it became a combination of Hindu-Muslim binary or an Indian, non-Indian binary. Now, this was done because for the BJP, which is led by Narendra Modi and Amit Shah, the ethnicity question was not something that would work. That's not something that the top leadership of the BJP was equipped to sort of use as a tool, and which is why the BJP had to change the narrative towards something that always suits it, which is a communally polarized narrative and which is a Hindu-Muslim narrative. So that was done over the years. That was done very carefully, very painstakingly by both the RSS and the BJP. Then Narendra Modi, of course, became a big and is a big phenomenon in Assam. I've travelled covering elections there extensively and he continues to remain very popular. Also, Assam, let's remember, is a state which has for long dealt with decades of insurgency. There was a certain degree of fatigue with the kind of history it had seen with the years of insurgency, with always being treated as if it is in the periphery, with never having any attention from the center, not having access to the kind of amenities and schemes and infrastructure that the rest of the country, the mainland, had. And so what Assam wanted was, what Assam was looking for in the 2016 elections was more national focus, and that's the kind of promise that Narendra Modi was able to make. In fact, he ensured that all the national schemes, whether it's Ujjwala or rural housing that were launched by him, reach Assam just as they reach Uttar Pradesh or just as they reach Rajasthan. Where the results in 2016 were for everybody to see. Of the 126 seats, BJP managed to win 60 on its own and 80 plus with its allies, and hence was able to form the government very, very convincingly. The fact that it cemented its position was clear from the 2019 Lok Sabha elections, where it won 9 of the 14 seats, reducing the Congress to just 3. Remember, Congress is a party which has been the main party in Assam since independence. So that is how BJP established its grip over Assam electorally. Politically, what it has done is that it has decimated the opposition and any sort of political stakeholder there. At this point, Congress is completely directionless, completely rudderless. On the other hand, the AGP, which is the Akhom Gana Parishad, which is the BJP's ally, BJP has eaten into the AGP's base as well. So there is nothing left for the AGP. AGP won no seats in the Lok Sabha elections in 2019. So essentially it has relegated all other political players to the sidelines, to the margins, and has captured the state politically. Socio-culturally, well, I say that because, as I mentioned, the entire debate in Assam always has been about the Bidehi, which is a foreigner, versus the original ethnic Assamese. This question of a Hindu foreigner versus a Muslim foreigner was never a factor that was never raised. I'm half Assamese, and having seen the state while growing up, I could have never imagined that a Hindu-Muslim narrative peddled by the BJP could work in the state, but it has worked. BJP has successfully managed that. And let me tell you that the BJP is doing well in the state not because of its Hindu-Muslim narrative, but despite the Hindu-Muslim narrative. Essentially, ethnicity as an electoral, as a political issue has been successfully relegated to the sidelines by the BJP, which has put the opposition like the Congress or the AGP on the back foot, because for them that was always a key, that was always an important issue. Now, what will a win in 2021 and a convincing win in 2021 tell us about the BJP? Is that one, despite the Citizenship Amendment Act, which we saw widespread protests in Assam, because again, as I mentioned, this is something which is not palatable to the people of Assam, offering citizenship to any outsider, be it Hindu or Muslim, which the act sought to do. It would show that protest or that act has had no difference, has made no difference to the political fortunes of the BJP in the state. The BJP has managed to convince the voter that despite the Citizenship Act, this is the party that is their option, this is the party that they ought to vote for. In fact, that looks like the pattern, because all this brouhaha about Citizenship Act was happening. Of course, it hadn't been passed by then, but despite that, it did so well in the Lok Sabha elections. And in the Bodoland Territorial Council polls that recently happened, the BJP again did very well. So it looks like that seems to be emerging as a pattern, that the CAA has not impacted BJP in a state where it actually should have spelled disaster for the party. So this shows that Amit Shah and Narendra Modi don't just know how to win an uncharted territory electorally, but that they also know how to hold on to power there. And Assam is particularly important because winning Assam was a gateway to the rest of the northeast. It's after Assam that BJP managed to capture most of the states there, either coming to power on its own or through alliances under NEDA. It's also an important experiment because it is Assam and Karnataka through which the BJP sends out the message that it's become a party beyond just the Hindi heartland. So which is why Assam is again important. Hence, winning Assam for the BJP is going to tell a different story about Narendra Modi and Amit Shah. Of course, the West Bengal elections are going to be a defining moment as well, as I said, either way. But what Assam would tell us is that BJP knows how to stay on and sustain power. On the other hand, if BJP loses Assam, it would expose the glaring gaps in the way it believes in governing, in its kind of politics, and in its one-size-fits-all approach that it largely seems to follow. So either way, it's the Assam election, whether it is a convincing win by the BJP, which would show it can overcome all kinds of odds to hold on to power in a difficult territory, or whether it loses, Assam is the microcosm to tell us something about Narendra Modi and Amit Shah's style of politics and whether it is working or not. To find out more, log on to our website, theprint.in, and read my column, Politics.